Buongiorno and welcome to Pasta My Heart. Hey, today I'm in my workspace kitchen area doing a few projects. I have a ton of tomatoes that we stuck into bags and threw them in the freezer to process later on. Well, my freezer is packed full. One of my freezers is, and it's causing the other things to be packed full, and it's just this rippling effect. So I'm going to try to cook down a huge stock pot full of tomatoes and let's get some fresh tomato sauce put up. I also this week I pulled some of my bunching onions and chives, and I decided that I needed to kind of get them put up. So I dried out my chives because my husband loves to use these in a lot of things. I use them. Gosh, they smell so good. So we got that done. I'm going to vacuum seal this jar with my little vacuum sealer just to keep it fresh. But you can tell I dehydrated them at a very low rate. They're very dry. When you're dehydrating, just a little tip, you know when you put things in a jar. Prime example, a few weeks ago we did tomato powder. And, you always want to check and make sure things are dried completely. And one of the ways you can check is when you dry powders, right, if they're still loose after a day or two in your jar, then you know you've got a good dry on it, okay? If this was still retaining moisture, it would clump, right, really bad back here. It would be hard. I wouldn't be able to do this. So when you dehydrate something or you dry it to put it up, make sure you dry it completely so it doesn't go bad. So we did this a few weeks ago. There's a video up about how to preserve tomatoes in a tomato powder form. But the chives are good. I'm going to vacuum seal those today. And then all the stems and the pieces and parts of all the little onions, the necks, the stems, the little bulbs, all of that, we're going to stick it in my NutriBullet blender. I found it to be the best thing to make powders. You can also I also have like a little Hamilton Beach coffee grinder that I use too, but I just found that this one I like a little better, and it's just sitting in my cabinet because I don't use it I didn't use it a whole lot. I'm learning to use it a whole lot now, especially with turning things into powders so we can use them at a later date. Excited to get some onion powder done because we are at the very, 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 very bottom of our onion powder. I should have probably did this a while back, but I didn't. But we are going to turn this into powder and then put it in one of my jars. I am going to vacuum seal it until we're ready to use it. Little side note, it's August. School's going to be starting back in another few weeks. I don't know where you live, but here it starts back like the week and a half or something before Labor Day. It's that time of year when, for me, I just feel like, I know everybody does a spring cleaning. I kind of do that when I get rid of all my Christmas stuff and put it up because my springs are pretty busy with gardening and laying out the garden and starting seeds, and I just love doing that. But I love fall because fall is my fall cleaning. It's when I reorganize, reset, get ready for winter. And so that's what we're trying to do. I'll show you something. My husband finished a project for me to put up on a wall that is now, as we continue to do things. So I'm starting to put all my cans on above my pasta table on this wall. So let's get started. Like I said, I've got a NutriBullet that I've had for a long time. It's great. And I'm going to take all my little chive pieces and bunching onion pieces, and we're going to throw it in this thing. It's funny because you think you have a lot, but then when you pulse it down to a powder, it's like, So I will be getting my onions out of the garden soon, which I grew this year. I grew Walla Wallas, and I grew a red onion called Flats of Italy. And then I grew this really cool onions variety. It's called Italian torpedo onions. They kind of grow they kind of grow like a thick carrot. And they are, the flavor in them is a cross between an onion and a little bit of spice. They are so good. So I'm going to be using them separately, I think, in some things. They have just a little bit of a peppery, it's almost like a onion, met a garlic, met a pepper, but it's good. They were my experiment for this year. And so they're going to become a main staple in my garden come spring next year. So let's get this pulps down. Let's make some powder. Easy peasy. And the cleanup with this is really good too. So let me get that on. Now, the one thing when you're making powder is you've got to just pulse a little bit. I like to shake mine around a little bit, get it all done. Now you can see it falls every time I stop. That's why I do that. I'm going to lift this off for a minute. I'm going to shake it up. Try to get some of those other pieces down there. All right, because this is onion powder, and even though I dehydrated it immensely, like tried to get it where it was snap, crackle, and pop everything, to finish this off, because it still looks like, I don't know if you can tell, but it still looks a little damp to me. You know, it's still kind of clumpy. I'm going to process this one more time. I'm going to take a cookie sheet. I'm going to line some parchment paper on it, and then I'm going to preheat my oven. The lowest my oven goes down to is 170. So I'm going to let it preheat up to about 170. I'm going to take my cookie sheet. I'm going to set it in my oven, but I'm going to leave my door cracked open. And I'm just going to kind of let it sit there, spread out on my cookie sheet so that it can finish drying to a better consistency. I do this sometimes just to make sure things are good and processed. I didn't have to with my tomato powder, or I also did, and I can't remember if I showed this to you or not, but this is bell pepper powder that I did also. And you see how dry that turned out. I do smoked paprika too, which is, I smoke my red bell peppers for hours, for 3 or 4 or 5 hours out on our grill to get that smoke flavor. And then I come back in and I have to dehydrate them to finish that, because when you smoke them, they'll lose a lot of the moisture. But to get the rest of it out, I dehydrate them and then powder them also. And I've got to get another batch of that done, because between my husband and the way he likes to cook and use it, he uses it in his rubs. I use it when I do certain dishes, and then I've given my friends and family some too. So now we're down to so we're going to have to, in a few weeks, we're going to have to do a paprika smoking time. So let's process this a little more. I'm going to get it on my cookie sheet, and then we're going to throw it in the oven and just let it sit there till the oven cools completely down. All right, I grabbed my cookie sheet and I grabbed some parchment paper. Little trick. I'm going to ball this up like I'm throwing it away. And then I'm going to spread it back out. And the reason I'm doing that is because if you do that, you'll see that you got all these little nooks and crannies. And not only does that help it mold better to your cookie sheet, but it also helps provide some airflow, especially when you're kind of taking your powders and spreading them out to put in the oven. Okay, let's get this all cleaned up. Yeah, this is still really damp. So I'm glad we're doing this. And it wasn't from the stems. The stems were real crackly. It was more from those onion bulbs. Even though I sliced them thin, and I sliced them thin, and I also, not only did I slice them thin, but I tried to split them apart and do things to help create that non-layered spread on my dehydrator screens. You still have to work with them. They are definitely a job. All right, so I'm going to get all this powder out. I'm going to spread it out, and then we're going to put it in a preheated oven, turned off until this oven cools all the way off. And then we're going to check it again to make sure all the moisture is gone, that it's not going to cake like you see it doing here, which I expected this because I knew that they were not dehydrated completely. I want to make sure I get every little bit out. I hate waste more than anything. It's like if I can figure out a way to use every piece and part, we're going to use every piece and part to make our future endeavors taste good and healthy, be healthy for our families. Now you want to spread this as thin as you can on your parchment paper. Try to be as even with your layer as you possibly can. Anything that's kind of a big clump, if you have that, this is really pretty dry overall. But anything that's like a clump, just run it between your fingers. There's a piece that didn't get powdered up. So anything that feels like it's a little clumpy, break it down between your fingers. Okay, and now this is going to go in my oven for a little bit. There you go, can you see? And we'll look at the finished product when it's done. So I'm going to go next door to my other room, throw it in the oven, and I'll be back. Okay, on to our next little project. I guess I could have wiped all this off. We are going to vacuum seal our little jar of chives. If you're like me and you can, or you're going to get into canning, I don't throw away my used lids. So I don't use them again for canning either. I'm a one and done when it comes to canning. I want to make sure those seals are sealed. But what do you do with all these great used lids? Something like this. So when I make powders, or I've got dehydrated vegetables, anything like that, this is a good place to use that lid that you had used for canning. So what we're going to do is, we got our ring. I'm going to put my lid on. Put my ring on. Wait a minute, I did that wrong. I'm going to put my lid on. Now, my husband decided I needed one of these. And at first I was like, I'm not going to use this thing. In my mind, I was thinking, what a waste of money. I'm not going to seal my jars that I'm supposed to can, because that was the new trend, to use these instead of actually water bathing. Or putting them in the oven. You remember? I don't do that either. Anyway, so it's set for about a year in my cabinet. And then, I don't know, after all of a sudden it dawned on me, this is a great idea to seal these powders and dehydrated vegetables and fruits that I have, to keep them fresh. And then once we open them, we use them. So this one he got off of Amazon. It's called the Electric Mason Jar Vacuum Sealer. It's an M11. I was trying to see who made it. It comes in gray and white. It has 2 capacities. So this is for, you undo this one for your large mason jar, your wide mouth jars, and this is for your regular mouth. This is a regular mouth. So you put it on there, press it down, you hit the on button. It says to leave it on there for about 40 seconds. You press the off button, and then you pull it off. And your jar is sealed. Look at there. Awesome. So this one is now ready to go on my shelf and sit there till we need some chives. Once we open it, we'll put a ring on it. I may reseal it. Probably will reseal it. I don't know. But you can always just stick a ring on it and keep it. If you don't have one of these and you've dehydrated chives and things, put a lid on it, close it down. It's good to go. Every once in a while, walk by and give it a shake. Make sure it's still doing its thing. not clumping up, and you should be good to go with this. So we're going to stick this one over here with the rest of them. I wanted to also share with y'all in this particular video, I want to talk about pasta for a few minutes. And so one of the things that I make a lot of pastas. I make a lot of pasta, period. I do colored pastas with fruits and vegetables and powders. I do hand shapes. I do, of course, linguine, spaghettis. I do it all. It's why I have such an extensive amount of areas to dry my pastas on, the dehydrator, the whole bit. I love it. I love creating pastas that my family will enjoy, that my friends will enjoy. And to be honest with you, it helps offset some of mine and Jay's living expenses when I go to markets and things and sell fresh pasta from there. I wanted to see about these countertop extruders. So an extruder, in case you don't know, is the machine that says it can shoot out all the pasta shapes if you have the correct little die piece that goes on the end. And so I'm not going to tell you the brand that I tried, but it arrived about a day and a half ago, and I was excited. I was looking forward to getting it because supposedly you throw your correct amount of flour, you add your liquid, it does all the mixing for 10 minutes, and then it stops, and it goes back the other way, and it extrudes through the front. It brings your pasta out. You sit there and just cut it to the length you want it to be. This machine worked great. A couple of things about it, and the reason I decided not to keep it was that it was all plastic. Every piece and part of it was all plastic. Now, I had read the reviews, I had looked at the specs, but it wasn't that expensive. And so I thought, well, why not? If it makes my life a little easier, why not? But I think I had high expectations for it. Jay and I yesterday decided to test it out. And so we did two different shapes. I wanted to do like a macaroni style, and he wanted to do spaghetti. And so these are not egg pastas. This is just semolina and water and 00 flour all mixed together. I wanted to see, things I was looking for were the shape, the textures of the pasta, and then how did it dry? Did it crack? Did it crumble? Did it hold its shape? And is this what I would call market ready? Those were my criteria. So when you make homemade pasta and you do it all by hand, there is, after you get it to where, you're kind of kneading it, for a lack of better words, but you get it to where it becomes your ball. You wrap it up and you set it aside and let it rest for at least 30 minutes so that all the glutens, all the things can just kind of settle down from all that manipulation, mixing it together and everything, bringing it together. Then you sheet it out and you make the shapes you want, right? If you're making that kind of shape, or you turn it into a rope and you cut it and you do the other kinds. So I was a little put off, first off, because there was no resting period in this machine's process. It went from measuring out my semolina flour, adding the correct amount of my 00 flour, and then it starts. And while it starts, you have 1 minute to take the water, or if I was using egg, it would have been a water-egg mixture, and pouring it through the top, back and forth slowly, so that it mixes with your flour that's in the process of already being churned. It did it for 10 minutes, and then it stopped, and I thought, consistency is, it's not like it's a ball, okay? And then I thought, well, it's going to rest. Nope. It stopped for like 30 seconds, and then it started turning the opposite way to extrude it out through the front of the machine. And I thought, So we did the macaronis first. And I have to say, as far as creating a macaroni, it did. Okay. As far as the way it dries, good, strong macaroni. It held up. It didn't crumble. It didn't break. I haven't cooked it yet, so we'll see how that does. But it did good, except for like inconsistency when you cut it off. If you're not quick, it smashes the ends. And then some of them, as you cut them off, stuck together. So you got to make sure you get them apart. Okay. So that was one thing. And I thought, well, that's in itself is a little, you know, putting off, other than for like home cooking, like for me and Jay to eat, maybe, you know, some family, but not market ready. And then the other thing that really was, is I realized that the texture isn't going to be like it is when I make it by hand. But this is a little too rustic. It's very gritty feeling. Yeah, I just don't like it. So we made the elbows. Well, then Jay was like, let's make some spaghetti. Let's see what it does. So it made spaghettis. And again, we measured them, you know, as it was coming out. We did it about, I don't know, these are maybe 8 inches long, 10 inches. And it comes out, and then when we laid it on the sheet, you know, we spread it out a little bit because we didn't want it all sticking and clumping together. But, you know, as you can, and I guess it doesn't matter that much, but as you can see, some of them, you know, it comes out because when you cut it off the end as it's feeding it out, it does mash the ends together. So, you know, in my mind, it was, oh, we got to make sure that these ends aren't stuck together because I don't want clumpy spaghetti cooking in the water. But again, dried great, has a great little crack when you break it. Looks like spaghetti, but the texture is still really grainy. And when I make homemade pasta, it's just a smoothness about it, a silkiness. And so for those reasons, it's going back. Also because it's all plastic. And I went on a Facebook page that I'm a part of that talks about extruders. And I happened to find one post that somebody asked about it, but I didn't, you know, it was just like, this is what I got. I ended up doing a post that said, this is what I got. And if you have this one, what do you think? Now, the reviews on Amazon were great. It was very consistent with all its competitors. I chose it just because it had a great 4.5-star rating on it, right? Being all plastic, a lot of them said after using it 3, 4, 5 times, the lock nut for the front ended up cracking. They had to contact customer support, which it seems to be very nice, to get a new piece for it. And for me, like I said, I make a lot of pasta. I didn't want the headache. So if you're looking, though, for a countertop pasta extruder, I think all of them that are out there are going to be plastic parts. But I think they're going to be okay if all you're going to do is make pasta occasionally. So don't not get one if you are just wanting to look for something that you can make some quick pasta for dinner, or maybe some quick pasta to dry and use, you know, sometime later on. But if you're making batches of it, kind of like I do, that's not what you're going to need. Okay. Brenda's wish list is a all stainless steel brass die kind of machine, but we aren't there yet. So we dried this pasta. I think we're gonna try it just because, and I'll let you know how it comes out. So today I just wanted to share a quick little catch up. I wanted to share what I'd been doing, what I needed to get done, and then get everything set up so that we can start making some amazing pastas in our next video. Until then, have an amazing day, have a great week, and I'll see you in the next one. Hey, real quick, I know I already ended it, but I went in the kitchen and I cooked up the macaroni pasta, and I wanted to kind of show you the consistency of it and let you see it. I mean, it tastes like pasta. It's not bad. You know, it cooked up, I guess, like I kind of sort of thought it would. And al dente is good. Needs a little more salt in it, though. I didn't put enough in my water. But anyway, yeah. So it is a little rough looking. I'll show you. If you look down in my bowl, you can see pieces Some of them cooked through. A lot of them are, pinched on one end. Then there's. So again, for family quality, I think it would be perfect. It's a fun little machine. Y'all can make pasta together. But for market use or for resale or anything like that, or giving it away as a gift, all of the above, I don't think I would use it. Anyway, once again, have a great day. I'll see you in the next video. Blessings.